All right, good morning, everybody. This is Brian Lysing with Financial Brokerage. I have the top of the hour on my watch, so we'll go ahead and begin today's webinar. Today's webinar is the Life Insurance Allocation Tool. This is a unique tool that we have here at Financial Brokerage, available for you to help your clients figure out their optimal blend of term and permanent life insurance. For today's webinar, all of your lines have been muted. We do that to cut down the background noise. You can still ask questions, though. You can type those in the control panel that you see on your screen, and I'll get to as many of those as possible at the end of today's webinar. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. This is part 3 in a 6-part webinar series titled Life Insurance Basic Training. And the purpose of the 6 sessions is to help you become more comfortable bringing up life insurance in conversation with clients that you have for other product lines. These webinars are primarily designed for folks who do not necessarily specialize in life insurance. So you're making the bulk of your income off of some other type of insurance or investment product. And again, they're designed to help you become more comfortable bringing up in conversation and ultimately quoting, presenting, and selling life insurance to those clients to tie them even more closely into you as their agent or advisor. Now, before I move on, if you're not familiar with Financial Brokerage, we are a national marketing organization working with insurance agents and financial advisors all across the country in areas of life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability insurance, critical illness, and Medicare supplements. I'm one of our life insurance specialists over here. And I think that's all the disclosures I needed to get out of the way, so we'll get into this. In the previous 2 webinars, for those of you that were on there, we covered our main life insurance quoting engine. Now, that's a spot on the website you would get to if you've already determined what kind of coverage and how much the person needs. But we're going to sort of take a step back here today and look at a tool that can help us get to that point if the client doesn't know how much coverage they're looking for or what type of coverage they're looking for. We have a tool that can really help in that regard. And in fact, the agents that have used this system in the past have reported back that they've seen increased commissions because of this, right? When you introduce permanent life insurance into the mix along with term, that usually leads to some higher premiums and policies that will stick around. So again, you tend to make a little bit more revenue by using this as opposed to if you would not. So where is this life insurance allocation tool? Well, you need to log into our website, and I'll walk you through where to find it. But if you hover over quotes at the top of the screen and then click on quotes, it should bring up the quoting tools. And we still don't see the life insurance allocation tool just yet, but we need to click once again on term quoting tools. And here it is, the 3rd item down, the life insurance allocation tool. So that's where you can find it on our screen. Now, I already have this brought up on another tab on our website, so I'm going to go right there. And this is what you'll see. Now, we have 2 versions of this life insurance allocation tool. We have the online version, which you can access after you've logged into our website. Your clients are not able to do that, so if you happen to scroll down to the very bottom of this questionnaire, you'll see a PDF version which you can download. I don't recall if this one is fillable or not, but the calculations are easy enough that, you know what, it may very well be a fillable form here. Let's just see if it's, you might need to get your calculator out to figure it out, but there is a PDF version you're free to print off and use with your clients or email to them. So this allocation tool has 3 sections to it. And in section 1, we're going to help the client figure out exactly how much life insurance do they need to have. Section 2, we're going to move on. Once we know the number, we're going to determine how much of that is term, how much of that should be permanent, if any. And then in the third section, if there is some permanent life insurance in the mix, we're going to help the client figure out what type of permanent coverage that should be, because there are all sorts of different permanent life insurance policies out there, and one will be a better fit for a particular client than another. So in this first section, there are lots of ways to calculate the need for life insurance. In this particular tool, it takes into account income protection. And we have this real easy to read grid right here. And all we have to do is ask the client what their current monthly income is, or how much they need to have, and then how many years would they like to provide that. So, maybe they need $10,000 a month protected until their young children are out of the house. So they might say they need that for 20 years, or maybe it's 15 years, depending on the age of the children. Maybe it's 30 years until they retire, and you can find the numbers right here. So that's some very easy math. You can also plug the numbers in over here on the left-hand side of the form, and let's say this person needs $10,000 a month for 20 years, and they have $100,000 of coverage in place right now. You would have to manually input the number from the chart. And this field down here does calculate. It takes into account the amount of coverage that they already have in place. Now, you might manually adjust this number as well if the client wants to provide additional money, say to pay off a mortgage or pay off other debts, to provide money for college. Actually, at the conclusion of this part, I'm going to show you where you can find a little bit more robust needs analysis calculator on our website as well. But this gives us our basic number, in this case, 1.5 million. And now we can move on to the insurance portfolio allocation. Now, this looks a lot like an asset allocation questionnaire that you may have used with clients if you've done any work with securities or investments, mutual funds, variable annuities. They're trying to figure out, their blend of stocks and bonds and value and growth related assets. So you simply take the client through the list of 8 questions in this section here, and you can get a really good idea of why they need to have this insurance, and then what type of policy is going to work best for them. And the online version will calculate all of this for you. So I'm just going to randomly answer some questions here, and we'll see what it comes up with here. Let's say this person really doesn't care about leaving an inheritance. Their adult children may rely on them. No, we're not going to be concerned about them. I want the least expensive type, even though my benefits may expire at some point in the future. Let's say that's what this person's looking for. I want it for a limited period of time. If I die prior to my spouse, I want to ensure they receive a portion of the death benefit. Let's say yes. I want my family to receive a benefit that would replace my income if I died during working years. Let's say yes. I want a policy in place regardless of how long I live. Hey, let's agree to that. Don't want to commit to permanent today, but I want the right to convert to term. Let's say no, so let's see what that looks like. So we have a score of 3. And in this case, that leads to 100% term being the recommendation. So what if we change a couple answers here? Let's say we don't want this for a limited period of time. We don't necessarily want the least expensive type. That changes the number down here to a 5, which says our client should have about a 50-50 mix of term and permanent coverage. And let's change this up here that we want to make sure we're leaving money no matter what. Now our score is a 6. That brings us up to a greater blend of permanent coverage. So you can go back and forth, with these questions with your clients, and again, you're going to see the recommended blend of coverage over here on the right. Use that as a starting point for the quotes. Once they see the price, they may want more permanent, they may want less, depending on their situation. But it gives you a great talking point to get into this conversation. So now our particular client has decided, yes, they do want some permanent coverage. Next question becomes, what kind of permanent life insurance should we have? Are we looking for a basic burial plan? Are we looking for a IUL that builds up cash? We're looking for a GUL that gives us a low cost without any cash buildup. Are we looking at a traditional whole life product? I don't know. So we're going to go through these 6 questions with the client. And first one asks about guarantees. I want to know exactly what my premium is going to be at all times. And, some people strongly agree with that. I would like the flexibility to increase or decrease. Let's say this person isn't sure. I'd like cash value to grow and be worth more than the premiums I've paid. Let's say the client wants that. They want to set aside money on a tax-deferred basis for retirement. Let's say they also want to do that. And I'd like cash value guaranteed regardless of future performance of interest rates. Let's say this person's unsure, and I prefer the type of policy that has cash value and I'm willing to accept some risk. Let's say they agree. All right, so now we have a score of 68, which we look over at the key, and we can see that this person should be considering whole life or index life, or maybe both. They could have some guarantees and certainly some potential for some pretty strong cash growth. But again, depending on how they score, if they're scoring very high, they're going to want to have this skewed more towards a cash growth policy. If they're scoring lower, then a death benefit guarantee is more important to them. Maybe we're looking at a GUL in that case. All right, so now, again, you've got a starting point as far as what type of policy to look at for your client. And the great thing about this is that, this is all your client's idea at this point in time. You didn't really have to sit there and explain anything to them or present a recommendation, at least not yet. Your client is reading through these and giving their opinions, and they're learning about the different types of coverage along the way. And it's a little more fun than just sitting down and listening to somebody speak, because they're actively participating and taking this quiz. So it makes it all their idea. The people that have used this, as I mentioned earlier, have reported greater success and certainly higher premiums collected with their clients. And again, at the bottom, if you didn't catch it earlier, there's a PDF version of this same questionnaire, which you could save and then send to your clients to utilize. All right, so that is the life insurance allocation tool. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to review another needs analysis piece of software that we have on the website, because section 1 of the allocation tool only takes into account income replacement. So if you caught some of the webinars earlier, we went into our term life quoting tool, and we went into this one without the needs analysis. Well, the top button actually gives you a full needs analysis, and this is fillable. If you are speaking to your client and are on our website at the same time, this will calculate everything in real time for you. And in this case, we start off with the lump sum needed to replace income. You could pull that off the chart we saw in the allocation tool, or you could also click on the Help Calculate button. And whenever that pops up, we're going to have a calculator that can do the same thing. It can help you figure out the amount of income needed for a certain period of years. And that is not popping up very quickly. So I may have a pop-up blocker active on this computer here. But that will work. I've used this before. You can also use the slider to put in a number that you want. Let's say this client has an outstanding mortgage that they would like to pay off as well. We'll add that in there. We have another calculator that can help determine what the cost of college is going to be for your area, whether it's a private or a public institution that they plan to go to. So now we have our potential need for this client. You can input their current life insurance, their current college savings, any available cash, and it will give you a number as far as the amount of coverage that is recommended. Once you do this, you can hit print, and it will generate a PDF that you could then send to your client, hand to them, or just save in their file for your records down the road. This system will go directly into the quoting engine. If you go to request a quote, it will bring you back to the quoting engine that we saw in the first two webinars in this series. So again, we've got a couple of needs analyses on our website. You could just look at income replacement or look at the fixed needs as well, and then walk the client through the other sections of this. So again, I hope you use this with your clients. The people that have in the past have certainly reported great success with this. So that's really the conclusion of the main content of today's webinar. I'll go ahead and open it up to questions if anybody has any at this point in time.